but after a while, you just kind of want it to cool off a little.
Well, I like
in between.
I like it out here in Ontario too.
Yeah.
For folks in the West, you got to come and visit this part, you know. And then for you folks in well, you go in the West anyway, so it's quite nice.
What else is coming up is Father's Day. Any plans? Is anybody planning anything for you?
Well, we're going to do a little barbecuing, hanging out with the family. I'm going to be speaking at the Beaumont Community Church on Sunday.
Cool.
I guess the pastor wanted the day off to hang out with his kids, but I'll be there. I'll bring maybe my family, my cheering section.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely have a barbecue and hang out and have some fun.
Yeah. Usually there are certain things that the boys like to do for Elton on Father's Day, so we'll do that and we'll have some fun as well. Now we also have some pictures of your crew as well.
Yeah, my dad, you know, there's my dad there. He's got the blue and black shirt there. And then there's my mom and, hey guys. And I did send the card, Dad. It's in the mail. You probably already have it. And then the rest of my family, Arlene and I, and then a niece and a nephew and some friends. You know, just coming together as family and celebrating that. And, you know.
Look at that crazy picture.
Cheryl asked me the other day, says, were you the cool dad? I said, the fun dad. And me.
So explain this picture. Who are all the suspects in this picture?
There's Matt, my son, and there is Linnea, Sarah, and then my youngest daughter, Amelia, who just graduated from university, and we're in Banffs and hanging out and having some fun.
Cool. Well, I feel like I need to make up for Mother's Day, because Mother's Day I forgot to bring crafts that the kids had made for me. So I brought in some crafts that the kids had made for Elton.
Well, don't be hard on yourself, Maggie.
Well, you know, I'm supposed to be the perfect mom.
Yeah, I know.
And anyways, I love this one that Ethan had given to Elton, I believe last year, Dad, You Rock, with the rocks around as the frame, which I love. And I absolutely love this, and this is really funny. My dad's superpowers, and this was done by our 5-year-old. I think he was 4 at the time. And my dad's superpowers, so he can run faster than a tree. He can lift a block. He is really good at driving cars. He makes the best food. He is funny when he's sad. He can laugh. I don't quite understand that one, so we're still working on that.
That's good, though.
He likes to make dinner. Obviously, there's a food theme.
Yeah, I hear it there.
In Joshua's life, there's always food in the mix. And he is a superhero because he's Batman and I'm Superman. This is according to Joshua John.
That sounds like Matt and I, too, you know. Well, good for you, Joshua.
Yeah.
Loves his dad. Hey, look at that cool-looking guy.
There you go. There he is. There's Joshua, and there's Elton, and Ethan.
Boy, a couple of cool-looking guys.
Yeah, we have a good-looking bunch.
Yeah, and I can see why you went for him and he went for you.
We have a great show in store.
We do, you know, and of course Father's Day is coming up, and we're encouraging dads all this week on the Dad Manifesto. 52 things for forever fathers never to forget, with author Jay Paylighter. And
also, you just recently came back from Nigeria. We were praying for you.
Thank you.
So it was an important trip for you to take.
It was, you know. I hadn't been there for a few years and have been down several times, and there's just a lot of destruction. We've heard about the Chibok girls, the Boko Haram, and there's also another group called the Fulani herdsmen who have actually caused more death and destruction than even the Boko Haram. And so I talked to Pastor Gideon while I was there, and he kind of helps to explain the situation facing the folks there in Nigeria.
The violence that has gone on for quite some years now in the southern part of Kaduna is perpetrated by Fulani herdsmen with the aim of land grasping, land taking. It also has a political phase. It also carried a phase of jihadist Islamic penetration in the region of southern Kaduna. And if I can take it further, I can say to you in the middle belt of Nigeria.
And Pastor Gideon brought a couple of the widows you see here, Maggie, that lost their husbands. This lady here, Victoria, also lost 2 sons. They were killed by Fulani herdsmen. Janet lost her husband and also a couple of family members. And so Voice of the Martyrs, along with Christian Solidarity Worldwide, are helping these ladies to rebuild their lives with microloan projects. They're making purses. They're also making soap and trying to be self-sufficient. But just a couple of days after we did this interview, Janet went back to her village, and in that village, 2 more people were killed by Fulani herdsmen. So we need to continue to pray about the situation in Nigeria, and on coming programs, we'll be talking more about some of the situations there and what we can do to help our brothers and sisters there.
Thank you for bringing us that update. It's important that we know about our brothers and sisters all around the world and how we can pray for them.
Absolutely. And you know what? The Bible tells us in 1 Corinthians 12:26, if one part of the body suffers,
Yes.
we all suffer.
We all suffer. Well, we love to highlight stories of those who are doing good works in all parts of the world, like you, doing great works. This next story is of a well-known Catholic priest, Father Ho Lung, and his missionaries of the poor. Take a listen.
We were brought up as Buddhists, and then my mother used to bring us by the river, take us in the fields, and just tell us to shut up and pray. Then later on, when we came to the city, because I needed to be schooled as well as my siblings, we found out about Christ, and it was really, really marvelous, because at the heart of the meditation came this person, which Buddhism doesn't have. Buddhism is usually a connection with your inner self, and getting us to a sense of truth, who I am, what I am, but never really centered on the other, which is Christ. We were told about this beautiful Christ who brought good news to all people. When you're hungry, he feeds you. Thirsty, he gives you drink. Naked, he clothes you. All these little kids, they didn't want to go to church at all. And the beauty of the Jamaican music was in my heart. So I began to write songs so that the children would be brought to the Lord. And to my surprise, they were brought to the Lord. And so I kept writing, and then the music took off after a while publicly. Homeless people are people who are castaways. And when you take them into your home, the one important matter was this: they needed fellowship. They had no one, no mother, no father, no sister, no brother, no job, no house, nothing at all. And it became very evident to me, I don't have to take on the burden of the food and the clothing. What I have to do, and the brothers, is to take on the burden of loving. I began to see more and more that miracles are created by the power of love that we have in our hearts for people. People began to say, I give thanks.
You know, it's very clear in the Bible that Jesus told us to go to the homeless, the widows, and the orphans. And that's what we want to continue to do here at Crossroads. And with your support of this ministry, we're able to have a humanitarian part of it where we go to many nations around the world with practical support, and also partner with ministries like the Voice of the Martyrs, Christian Solidarity Worldwide. You know, we're all in this together. As we talked about before, we are the body of Christ, those that follow Jesus and want to make a difference in our world. So thank you for your support, and we appreciate all that you're doing to help us so we can tell stories of people like Father Ho Lung and the great work that he is doing that encourages us. And I hope it sparks you on to wanting to do more in your community. So again, that encouragement, please take it today. Now, if you're going through something yourself, maybe you are feeling disconnected. Maybe you're an orphan or a widow and you've gone through some difficult times. We always have people standing by that want to talk to you, to encourage you, to pray with you. Not going to try to sell you anything. Our prayer lines are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Give us a call, 1-866-273-4444. You know, one thing I've learned, you know, in my walk with Jesus for the last 30 years is that I can do a little bit by myself, but wow, can we do great things together. We'll be right back.
I love sitting and talking with older men, hearing their stories, getting wisdom and advice from them. And so being able to have that community and share the mistakes, all the screw-ups, but yet all the advice and counsel too, man, there's nothing better than that.
All this month, we have really been delving into why we believe. Why do we believe in God? Why do we believe in Jesus? Why do we believe in the resurrection? We're joined by Chip Ingram, the author of this great new book, Why I Believe. Chip, there are many people that don't believe.
Absolutely.
Why?
Well, there may be a lot of reasons, but three come to my mind. The first one is just ignorance. I just met a man last week who told me, I grew up in Florida. I never heard the gospel. I live in America. I've never heard it. I've never understood it. There's people, many people, who just think, I'm trying to be a good person. They do not know the gospel, and therefore they don't believe. They don't know what God has offered. Second is the core of all sin is something called pride. And sometimes it's, I don't need God, I'm a self-made person. And sometimes it's just passive indifference. But it's like, I don't want anyone telling me what to do. I'll run my life. And there can only be one CEO of the universe. And it's not me, and it's not you, and it's not anybody listening to us. And a part of believing is coming to a point where you receive the gift, but you realize, I'm going to follow the one that made me. And I think the third is a moral issue. And I think this happens a lot to everyone, but especially young people. You go off to school and you believe in Jesus and everyone's sleeping around and everyone's going out and partying. And pretty soon you start to do some of that and you feel so guilty that the battle is inside and you don't want to be a hypocrite. And so what you do is you say, you know what, I just won't believe that anymore. And so Huxley, I remember, he said, I don't know if Darwin's right or not, and it doesn't really matter, but he gave us a great excuse to abandon all morality and live the way we want to. And so sometimes it's a smokescreen to say, well, I don't believe in God, I don't believe in the Bible. Most people have never checked that out. But what they're really saying is, my immorality and my lifestyle is what I really want. And so I think what we want people to know is that God has a better plan. And the consequences of those kind of lifestyles bring a lot of pain. And the only reason God says no to some things is because he has a much better and bigger yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You bet.
I think that's a great challenge for those of us that do believe, to really resonate with our belief system so that we can share it with others. This is a gift that's freely given to us and that we can give it to others. That's who Jesus is. And so being able to stand firm in what we believe enables us to be able to share that well. If it is the good news, as a friend told me, I'll never forget this, if it is the good news, why aren't we sharing it like it's good news? Why aren't we actually spreading this good news? Because it is so rich and it is something that transforms our lives every single day. If you don't know Jesus today, if you have been one of those people that have questioned and just have said, no, I don't believe, I'd love to challenge you to pick up this book, Why I Believe. I think it will be a good read for you and maybe challenge some of those mindsets that you've had in the past. Check this out.
These days, we're constantly bombarded with different ideas and views claiming to have the answers to life's big questions like, if God is good, how could this happen? It's tough to find satisfying answers, and we or our loved ones end up asking, what really is the truth? Where do we come from? Is there life after death? Does God even exist? Can we believe the Bible? You'll want your personal copy of this comforting new book from best-selling author and popular 100 Huntley Street guest, Pastor Chip Ingram. Why I Believe. Straight answers to honest questions about God, the Bible, and Christianity. Call now to request your copy when you send a ministry gift this month of $50 or more. Why I Believe will help you know what and why you believe. It will bring you God's comfort and peace and equip you to encourage others facing personal tragedies in their lives. Quantities are limited, so call today, 1-800-265-3100, or visit crossroads.ca/believe.
So why don't people believe? Well, you know, this book is great because what you can do is get it to your maybe atheist friend, your agnostic friend, or skeptical friend, because as Chip said, you don't have to throw your brains in the trash. It's historical. Jesus Christ was a person. He rose from the dead. Why do we believe the Bible? You know, why do we think about death? And what are some of the things that we are trying to wrestle with? So get this book today. It's very important. Why I Believe, straight answers to honest questions about God, the Bible, and Christianity. We'd be pleased to send it out to you today for a suggested gift of $50 or more, and we thank you so much. Well, now, a young man who became consumed with alcohol after the death of his mother. Here's Conrad's story.
Conrad Nasis grew up in an alcoholic home, but it was the death of his mom, who he loved so much, that sent him on a road of destruction. Thank you for joining us today, Conrad. Take me back to that day you said you would follow your mom wherever she went. Tell me about that relationship.
Well, my mom would start out her mornings by baking bannock and that, and you know, I'd watch her, and then you know, I'd watch every step that she took, and even when she'd start to cook, like what spices or what she'd put in there, and I was always right beside her, even when she did laundry.
It must have been hard growing up in a destructive home as well. Alcohol was a part of life. Tell me about that.
Alcohol did play a big part in my parents' lives. Like there would be people coming over, drinking and partying pretty much all night. We would always lock our doors in our room and we'd hide. Like we didn't know what was going to happen. Like we didn't want no part of it.
What was that like as a child, feeling like you had to hide?
It was scary. It wasn't the right place for a child to be. Children are to be loved, right? And to be cared for. And, you know, no child should see anything like this from their parents.
So your mom passes away, and that was difficult for you. Tell me about that day and finding out that she had passed away.
When my mom passed away, I was 15 years old. After that time, there was a big part missing in my home, so I couldn't stay at home, so I decided to hitchhike out to BC.
You always thought that you would never allow alcohol to rule your life the way it did your parents, but that didn't happen.
I didn't start drinking until maybe I was about 21. And I always thought to myself, like, alcohol is not going to be a problem in my life. I'm not going to go down that road where my parents were. But I made that slip. I ended up drinking. I started going into alcohol, and it just started to grow and grow and grow.
Tell me about how that started, and eventually you met your current wife, Laura.
When I met Laura, like, it seemed like alcohol started to become a part of what I did, right? So it became a part of our relationship where we would end up drinking, and you know, it was like a disease, I guess. I guess I was 21 years old when we had Jared, our oldest today.
What was that like for Jared, you think, as, you know, it's almost like history repeating itself all over again?
I put him in the same situation I was in, and you know what, that was all blocked out because of, you know, alcohol was already a big problem for me.
So you and Laura eventually separate. Things get a little rough. You move to Lethbridge, and it gets to the point where you're essentially drinking almost every single day. We'd
drink right until midnight, and then we'd be up by 5 o'clock. It'd be time to go to work. And then when payday come around, like, I wouldn't even know where my paydays would go. It was a constant thing. Like, that's probably the worst time of my life, was like to be drunk every day and to do the things over and over again. I thought to myself, okay, I can't keep doing this. You know, I phoned up Laura, and then I said, Laura, I'm done, I want to come home. She packed up Jared and drove down to Lethbridge to come and pick me up.
Things start to change after a while. You come back home. There is still, you know, alcohol involved, but things start to change. Laura starts getting more serious about her faith. She's asked you to come. You've said at times you don't want to have anything to do with God. But what changed in your heart that made you want to at least give God a try?
That one weekend I was sitting in my basement, and I was thinking, like, wow, there's nothing more for me, right? I was going around in circles. It felt like I was depressed. I felt alone at times. I felt like a failure. You know, I thought to myself, nothing's ever going to work out.
And so you decided?
Laura comes down and she approached me and she goes, do you want to go to church? I thought, okay, well, I need a change. So that evening when we went to the church, Laura decides, oh, okay, let's go sit right in the front. So we sat right in the front. So as the evangelist was preaching, like he kept walking by back and forth, and then he'd look at me, and then you know, he'd walk away. 15 minutes went by, and then he walks over to me, and then he goes, he looks at me, he goes, I don't know who you are. He said, but after tonight, God said your life is not going to be the same.
Was he right?
He was. After that night, my life was changed like instantly. Like my life spun on a dime, you could say, right? The craving of alcohol, the gambling, and you know, even the swearing.
When you look back at the old Conrad and you look now at the new Conrad, what would you say to the old Conrad?
God is real. He has a plan for each and every one of us. Give God a chance. Give him that chance. He's going to come into your heart, and he's going to change everything.
What an amazing story, Maggie. Conrad's life was spinning out of control, but look what he's doing today. And I know that brought a big smile to your face, because here's a guy that has really turned things around.
Oh, absolutely. I think this is a great example of what God can do in your life, in our lives, what God did in Conrad's life. You know, he didn't want to become an alcoholic and led down a different track, but God turned him around. And I think that could be anybody's story today. Maybe you're struggling with alcohol abuse or drug abuse, or just feel really far away from God today. I hope Conrad's story is a good encouragement to you that God is not finished with your story, and he can do amazing things. All you have to do is open that door to your heart and say, Jesus, yes, I am tired of trying to do things on my own, and I need you today. Our prayer partners are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to pray with you, agree with you that, yes, you can change your life around with the help of God. The number's at the bottom of your screen, 1-866-273-4444.
You know, and one of the things Conrad said that really caught my attention, and I put it into my own context, what would the new Greg say to the old Greg, who used to mock church and Christianity? Is God is real, and he's the one that can change you. You know, some people have incredible, you know, self-will. They can do all these things in your own strength. Well, I can tell you, I'm not one of those people, but with God's help, and as Maggie mentioned, our prayer lines are always open. People that have had issues with addiction in the past, some of them, and they can understand and help you to, you know, be able to get free of those addictions. 1-866-273-4444. Well, we have the Dad Manifesto this week. Want to find out more?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Hey, this is Jay Payleitner, author of a bunch of books, speaker, and family cheerleader. We are working our way through some of the chapters in my book, The Dad Manifesto, 52 Things for Forever Fathers to Never Forget. Today's reminder is, carry recent photos on your smartphone. Dad, can you pull out your phone and quickly open an album to show a few really good recent photos of your immediate family? Pictures that aren't embarrassing. When you do that, 3 things happen. First, you think about your children more. Every time you look at your phone, you're holding a piece of your heart. Second, your kids feel the connection. They know what's on your phone. They hate the way they look in that picture, but they're glad that you're carrying it. Third, it's a hedge of protection for your marriage. Every time that you share pics of your family, you are telling the world what's important to you. You're working to support a cause greater than yourself. You are off limits to flirting. You are going straight home after work. Set up your phone app so that you can swipe 4 or 5 photos and quickly brag on your kids. Do it often. Be that guy. What you have on your phone reflects your heart. Malachi 4:6, the last verse of the Old Testament says, He will turn the hearts of fathers to their children, and the hearts of children to their fathers, lest I come and strike the land with the decree of utter destruction. Dad, you can save the land from utter destruction. No pressure.
I find often people don't realize how much God deeply cares for them. Often they are so burdened by condemnation and self-accusation. They just think God must be angry at them, and surely they've done a sin that's too great for God. And that's what I find I pray over a lot, that they have a spirit of wisdom and revelation in the knowledge of Jesus, and that they know that they're God's beloved. That, I think, is one of the most powerful things to communicate and pray, is that Jesus always accepts them. He always loves them. You can just sense, and they tell you, I feel like a burden has lifted. And hearing those things just make it so beautiful, and you yourself rejoice in your own salvation and what God's done in your life. It's just the best feeling in the world. It really is.
I've come to Rome to find Paul, to write his story, to remind us how God changed a hateful man who will change the history of the world.
Where sin abounds, grace abounds more.
Paul, Apostle of Christ, on Blu-ray June 19th.
And Maggie, it will be out on DVD coming out this weekend, and I would encourage you to get it. I saw it on the big screen, but I'm going to get the DVD because I just love Bible history. And when I was in Bible college and then throughout the years as a pastor and preaching, well, we have what we call the prison letters. Paul, believing he wrote those during a 2-year imprisonment while he was in Rome. And one of my favorite, Bible parts of the Scripture is in Philippians. And so you got Paul in this movie, and it's great. Jim Caviezel's excellent playing
You're
Luke.
not giving it all away.
No, I'm not going to give the whole story.
Okay.
But some of the, So anyway, he was under, we believe, house arrest. So Luke was able to come, and Paul was able to give him information and all the things that came out in terms of, the prison letters. One of those is Philippians. So you think Paul's in this terrible prison, and he's got this audacity, in a sense, to write, rejoice, again I say rejoice. So it's in the context of that. So I'd say, what I'd do, get the DVD, and then study what we call the prison letters. It'll help to bring context and bring it alive.
And for those of you that have no idea what Philippians is, has never cracked open a Bible, I think it's still a great movie to see. I think, so many of us don't really understand all that happened during our biblical times. And so this would be a great movie for you to capture, to be able just to maybe learn more about the Bible. And some people are visual, right? They're not necessarily readers. We still encourage you to read your Bible.
Yes.
But this would be a great movie to start that journey if you haven't cracked open your Bible in a way. So go to paulmovie.com for further information on how you can get your copy of the DVD and also support great faith-based, family-friendly films. If we don't buy the DVDs, if we don't go to the movies, then we don't get these things in theaters, right? And so we continue to complain that we don't have great family, faith-based films. So we need to support our filmmakers out there that are doing positive things.
And I'm both, I'm a very visual person too. And so when I see, Paul in that prison and the Christians that are under persecution and all that's happening, and then even as they cleverly take some of the lines like from Philippians, Ephesians, again, I don't want to overwhelm you if you're not familiar with this stuff, but it helps us to understand the context in which these were written. It wasn't written in Toronto or Vancouver. It was written in a Roman prison cell, many of these letters. So get the movie again.
And you can't complain with Jim Caviezel. I mean, whatever movie Jim Caviezel's in, you need to see it.
I love him, and Cheryl got to meet him, luckily.
Thanks for watching today. Bye.
See you next time.
Thank you for your ongoing support of Crossroads, a member of the Canadian Council of Christian Charities. You can write to Crossroads, P.O. Box 5100, Burlington, Ontario, L7R 4M2.